Oh, yeah, okay. Uh, Good morning, ladies, gentlemen, and others who shall remain nameless. You know who you are. You know exactly who you are. Yeah. A few years ago, I was on a message board and a creationist came along with a scientific paper about midichlorians, published by a Dr. Annette Kien and a Dr. Lucas George. And he insisted that this paper proved that there had to be a God because midichlorians permeate the universe. Ignoring for a moment that midichlorians were invented by George Lucas, the guy who created Star Wars, and Annette Kien is basically a spin on the name Anakin. Anakin Skywalker from the Star Wars prequels? Yeah. But this scientific paper was obviously a gag paper, and yet young Earth creationists took it very, very seriously because, well, yeah, young Earth creationists. Oh, yeah. Young Earth creationists weren't able to check the references, which were all, yeah, Star Wars novels. Star Wars novels. Yeah. The Star Wars universe, the extended universe, is pretty chock full of novelizations. And yeah, it's a big universe. Lots of literature. At least the pre-Disney one. Yeah. But, yeah. Wow. So this creationist was quite insistent that Dr. Lucas George and Dr. Annette Kien were evolutionists who had accidentally proven God. Yeah. And the reason I reference this is because there had been two other gag scientific papers published, one of which, yes, did claim that cow farts were the cause of global warming. And then another one, a spin-off of that one, claimed that dinosaur farts had led to the extinction of the dinosaurs. And again, the reference material was jokes, it was novels, it was anecdotes. One of the source material was Uncle John's Bathroom Reader. Yeah. Another was Ripley's Believe It or Not. The comic books from the 1960s. Yeah. And it was obvious that this is a gag paper. But right-wingers took it very seriously and proceeded to attack and mock and jeer, claiming that, and I quote, "This is what the liberals believe," and "This is what the left believes." And, well, no it isn't, and no it isn't. It is, however, what somebody with a sense of humor pulled out of their ass in order to have a joke. But something I've noticed about right-wingers is their jokes require somebody to be hurt. If nobody got hurt, where's the joke? If nobody's on the floor bleeding, where's the joke? Right-wing humor is basically punch a random person in the face and then laugh at them. Yeah. That's right-wing humor. So, of course, right-wingers see a gag paper, but nobody gets hurt in it. Where's the joke? They don't understand it. It's the same with creationists, not understanding the joke in a paper that obviously is referencing a movie. Star Wars, you know? Come on, people. Figure it out. So, yeah, no, cow farts are not the cause of global warming. In fact, they're not even the leading cause. They're not even a significant cause. But it took me a while to figure out where right-wingers were getting this claim. And yeah, I eventually traced it to a gag paper published online and nowhere else that, yeah, referenced, again, Ripley's Believe It or Not, and, yeah, a bunch of novels, and my favorite, again, Uncle John's Bathroom Reader, and Reader's Digest. Yeah. Yeah, well, you cannot fault right-wingers for not being able to understand humor. It is, unfortunately, a quirk of their character. Or perhaps their lack of character, I'm not sure. Yeah. But anyway, I digress. The reason that I bring this up is because it does bear a tangential relationship to a fact. And that fact is that our excessive demand for beef, 3 times a day, 7 days a week, is causing environmental damage. I want you to think for a moment about the Amazon jungle in Brazil and how that Amazon jungle is very slowly being transformed into the Amazon desert as Brazilian ranchers clear-cut vast swathes of jungle, burn everything, let the grass come in, and then use it to raise cattle for the American beef industry. And then the grasses eventually fail, and so they move on. They're just clear-cutting vast swathes of jungle that are ever expanding, slash and burn, in order to feed the American demand for a Big Mac every day, twice a day. Yeah. And now the Chinese are demanding beef every day. Because, yes, Americans, Canadians, Englishmen, and Australians got into the habit of beef every day. And yes, it is unsustainable. And yes, I do love a good steak and egg breakfast. I do. I love my rare steak. I love my steak so rare when you stab it with your fork, it moos. It goes moo. Yeah. When you stab with your fork, it goes moo. Okay? That's how I like my steak. But I also understand that if everybody had steak every day, the damage to the environment would be astronomical. The sheer number of cattle that have to be raised to sustain this is insane. And there was a time when steak and roast beef and hamburgers were luxuries. The very richest of the rich could have steak every day and roast beef every other day, and the rest of us had to make do with having a roast beef maybe once a month. And this traces back to our hunter-gatherer ancestors who, again, also, red meat was something you ate 2 or 3 times a year. The rest of the time, you were living on small game roots, berries, nuts, and grains, and fish. And yes, small game is much more sustainable than big game. And rabbit and pork are more sustainable than beef. And no, I'm not saying we need to stop eating beef. But we do need to dial it back a bit. I don't eat steak every day. I like a good steak. Sometimes I'll have a hamburger. Sometimes I'll have a roast beef. But not very often. And when I do, I enjoy it. I insist that it be cooked perfectly, and I'm going to sit there and I'm going to enjoy it. I'm not going to eat this on the run. I'm not going to eat this out of a paper package in the car, driving back and forth somewhere, just shoveling it down, throwing the wrapper out. No, I'm going to sit down and enjoy this, because it is a rare treat. It is a rare treat. And if we treat beef as a rare treat rather than something to demand every day, multiple times a day, we can dial back the beef industry to something sustainable. Sustainability. And I'm not talking about abolition. I'm talking about sustainability. I'm talking about the ability to continue having roast beef once a month forever versus having roast beef every day and steak every day and burgers every day for a few years until we burn through all the available land and then everybody's starving to death. Yeah. Red meat is not a staple, it's a treat. It always has been, and it should always remain. Because to make it a staple of our diet is unsustainable. As long as it was just the British who insisted on having roast beef every day, the world could sustain that because they were like 40 million Englishmen. And most of them were stationed in India, where eating beef was definitely going to get you into a lot of trouble. So, yeah. But now, we've got the Chinese clamoring for an American-style diet. It's bad enough that they're clamoring for the American suburbia lifestyle, which, yeah, in America, it's unsustainable. In China, it's suicide. The Americans need to get rid of suburbia, get rid of car dependence, get rid of beef 3 times a day, every day. And the Chinese need to absolutely never embrace this, because it is suicide. It is unsustainable. Yeah. We do need to get rid of the private automobile as the suburban commuter and return to a time when, yes, cars were special. They were something that if you were lucky enough to own one, you drove it once a week. Yeah. Back to a time when people took the train or the bus or the trolley or the streetcar. And when people lived not on red meat, but yeah, mostly on small game and pork. Much more sustainable. You can produce 3 times as much pork per acre as you can produce beef per acre. 3 times as much. And even then, pork 3 times a day? No. Bacon and eggs once a day. Maybe the occasional ham. Maybe the occasional roast pork. Maybe the occasional pork chop. And yeah, every once in a while, have yourself a roast beef dinner or a steak dinner. And yeah, let's get burgers off the menu. Because they're disgusting. Especially those frozen pucks that they serve at McDonald's. Yeah. And no, we shouldn't legislate this. There shouldn't be an abolition. What there should be is arriving at an understanding that we just can't do this anymore. Pardon me. And once we understand this, we can make changes. And yes, we do need to make changes. Because our current lifestyle is unsustainable. Oh, wow. And yes, if the Chinese embrace our current lifestyle, it'll be even more unsustainable. It will be suicide. We will end up choking to death in our own filth as a species, and taking most of the large animals with us. We need to become sustainable. And no, I'm not advocating for everybody to be a vegan. I mean, if you like being vegan, by all means, go for it. Do it right. Don't make it a fashion accessory. But I do like my steak and egg breakfast. And I do like my bacon and eggs. And yes, I do like my split pea with ham soup. And I do like a nice roast chicken every now and then. Absolutely. A good rotisserie chicken done on the barbecue. Rotisserie barbecue chicken. Yeah, that is good. And yeah, that is sustainable. But yes, most of the cattle that we have should be dairy cattle, not beef cattle. And yes, meat should be something that you eat once or twice a day, and it's small game, not red meat, white meat, chicken, fish, pork, rabbit. Rabbit is very sustainable. And I know they're cute, but they're also delicious. So yeah, let's get away from the heavy emphasis on red meat. And let's have a more sustainable diet. And also, let's teach right-wingers how to have a real sense of humor. Because, yeah, punching random people in the face is not funny. It's stupid. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, did I mention that we have winter snow and it's beautiful? Yeah. We'll talk more later. Okay.